Hey warrior, welcome to today's video. We're going to get into our topic today of learning how to differentiate between how the lower and higher brain sound, between how the higher and lower brain make you feel, so that you can start to realize which one is in control and make a choice from there. The last few days, we've been talking about all different topics about how to overcome emotional eating, about the higher and lower brain, what the function of each of them is. And so today we're moving straight forward from there. But before we get into it, I just wanted to give you an offer. So my 6-month program, The Warrior Evolution, which is all about releasing anxiety, disrupting depression, and ending emotional eating using movement as a foundation for us to start to change these habits, is on sale. This is a special discount for you guys who are taking the time to really do the work in this 30 days. And I'm giving you $300 off of the cost of this program. Yes, $300 off. So you have until the last day of the 30 days of emotional eating to take advantage of this and enroll, and we will get you started right away. There is a library of videos similar to this, but with more focused exercises, with more focused details on how to take you step by step through your recovery. In addition to those videos, which I have to say there are over 20 to 30 at this point, and I'm always updating and adding new ones based on my students and what they need. But weekly, we have a group coaching call, which takes place on Zoom with the whole group, and this is really where the magic happens because you get to interact with me one-on-one, and we all learn from each other. There are also specific exercises for you guys to start to work through your trigger foods, to work through your triggers, period, to start to incorporate different foods, to challenge yourself, to take you outside of your comfort zone, and to unlearn these habits. So this series is a little bit more general. In the 6-month program of the Warrior Evolution, we go step by step so that you can finally end your battle. Whether it is just general overeating when you're not hungry, to mindless eating, to the depths of emotional eating and binge eating, which is what I struggled with personally. I take you through it from my personal experience of recovery and also my professional experience, which I've had 10 plus years as a registered dietitian and as a fitness professional, and I combine both of those to give you the best program out there. So that offer is there for you, $300 off the price, and you can take advantage of that by clicking the link below. So let's get into today's topic. Today we're going to learn to differentiate between how the higher and lower brain sound and how they make us feel. So we know that when the higher brain is in charge, it literally takes control. We can't move our bodies without the higher brain being in control. So when it's in charge, we are fully capable of dismissing these urges. And that's what we're working on here. Dismissing these urges as if they were just a whisper in the wind. We are separate from the urges, and I know that it might feel like we're not, because as soon as we feel this urge, it may feel like it's completely taking over our body, it's taking over our thoughts and our actions. And it may feel like when we're experiencing this impulse to overeat, that we can't stop it once it's happened. The truth is you can, because we are not overwhelmed by our emotions. We can separate ourselves from the urge and still exist without acting on it. So just because you experience the urge does not mean that you need to act on it. We are actively strengthening that gap. What we are focused on doing is reducing the intensity and the convincingness of these urges that we need to do what they are telling us to do. The way we do this is a mental shift in how we perceive these urges. If we perceive these urges as once it happens, we are out of control and there's no going back, that we are screwed once the urge is ignited, then that is what is going to be a reality. But if we start to change our perception that when we experience the urge, and we'll get to defining what that urge is and how it feels and what it sounds like, that we can acknowledge it, but also sit with it and not have to do anything about it, and give it power and feed it and fuel it. So like any other emotion, like any other experience, it has a peak and it has a drop and it has an endpoint without doing what it's telling you to do, which is overeat. This is going to take some practice. So most of my students, it takes a few weeks to a few months to really get this down, as if you are practicing it every single day, every single opportunity that you have. So how do we recognize the difference between the urge voices and the real you, between the lower brain and the higher brain? So I want you to just close your eyes, take a deep breath in, let it out. And I want you to imagine yourself having an urge. I want you to try and think back to a time where you were having an urge. The urge to emotionally eat, the urge to binge eat when you were not hungry. And I want you to identify what you were thinking during that time. What was the energy behind that thought? Was it calm? Was it urgent? Was it a gentle tap, a gentle whisper? Was it like somebody banging on your door? Where do you feel this feeling come up? In your mind? In your chest? In your belly? Down the back of your neck and into your shoulders? What other physical sensations do you feel during this urge? Heart racing? Maybe you feel that uncomfortable feeling underneath your skin where it sort of feels like your skin is crawling, very restless. What about emotionally and mentally? Irritable or chill? Do you think most supportive, positive, empowering thoughts about yourself during this time? Or do you think negative, disempowering, I can't thoughts about yourself in this time? I'd like you to take a few moments, you can pause the video, and you're gonna write down what came up for you. It's a little different for everyone, but take the time to recognize and start to become aware of what's going on within you when you experience this urge, because this will allow you to recognize when it's happening and also recognize that this is not the thing that you are choosing to put into control. So after you've written down the things that came to mind that you recognize between your urge voice and your true voice, we're going to take a moment and write down what we either currently experience as our true voice or what we would ideally like as a goal for our true voice to sound like, where we would like to feel it, how we would like to acknowledge it. So generally, as you write, I'll just speak. Your true voice is calm. It's grounded. It's not urgent. You don't need to act right now. It knows that time and like the things that you need, you will get. It doesn't need to satisfy an immediate pleasure. It knows that there is satisfaction in delaying that pleasure and that it will be that much more sweet at that time. It's able to maintain your habits. It's able to maintain a focused outlook on that distant vision that you have and take action accordingly in the moment. It can observe that you're feeling uncomfortable, but also know that this will pass, that we don't need to act, and that we can focus. Sorry. It focuses on our long-term goals and the consequences for going back to the old habits that are not serving us. It tells you what you want for your life. It speaks to you in an empowering way that is rooting for you, that is supporting you. This is what you are choosing to put your control into. It knows you are separate from the urges and it allows you to have control over them. From this perspective, it's easier to choose not to act on your urges. It looks at your strengths. Where do you import your self-control? Where do you resist choices that you know aren't helpful for you? The more you focus on these strengths, these abilities, these little wins where you are practicing self-integrity and practicing what it is that you truly want, the more you are strengthening that higher brain, the prefrontal cortex that is made up of everything that we want. After you finish writing, come on back to the video. There are other places that you experience impulses, but you choose to not act on them. Think about it. The impulse to maybe roll through a stop sign instead of fully stopping. The impulse to check your phone as soon as you hear that ding that you have a message, but you hold off because you're focused on you time or you're focused on something else and you don't need to respond or look at that message right away. You are practicing control there by not listening to the impulse, the desire to go, but you are allowing the strengthening of your prefrontal cortex, your higher brain, to choose. You're putting that guy in the driver's seat. Where else do you put your higher brain in the driver's seat, even though you are having an impulse from your lower brain? You can view your emotional eating habits in the same way. It's just not what you do. Just because you have an urge does not mean you act on it. Just because you hear a ding on your phone does not mean that you go and rush to it. Think about the other examples that you practice this in and list them as well. So, last thing we're going to wrap up with, you may understand that you're separate from the urges, but it's still very hard to not give in to them. Sometimes it really just feels like I need to do this, right? It just feels like you're separate, but the urge is powerful and it's uncomfortable and you are perceiving it as the thing that is running the show because it's such a physically uncomfortable experience. So the lower brain is conditioned to act as if it's necessary to do this to survive. We can observe it and sit with it without acting on it, and it will pass. For those of you who exercise, and for those of you who are working with me to use movement to overcome these urges and overcome this completely, how many times have you done an exercise? Let's just take I don't know, mountain climbers. Let's just take squats. We're doing squats. We're squatting up and down and your legs are burning. Your legs are burning and your mind is going, oh my God, you need to stop. We're gonna die if you continue. It is too painful. We need to stop. I need to stop. And you stop and you catch your breath. The next time you go to do this, you think to yourself, okay, I know that I'm gonna reach a point where it's very physically uncomfortable. My legs will be burning and my mind will be screaming at me to stop. But I wanna show myself that just because my mind is telling me something, it is a false belief. It is stronger than it thinks I am in that moment. And I wanna show it by strengthening that gap. I wanna show it by doing a few more reps once I get to that point and showing the mind that my body is stronger than the mind thinks it can. And I'm gonna train my mind to understand that just because it's painful, it's uncomfortable, and I want to keep going, that is a choice that I can make because I'm growing in that. I'm getting better. It is taking me towards the vision of the strong, powerful warrior that I am working on being mentally and physically. And so that example right there in your movement, in your workout practice, is you putting your urge to the side. You understand it's uncomfortable. It's still uncomfortable, but you are persisting through, and the time will stop, and eventually the urge will come to an end. So I just want you to equate that with this. It's the same thing. The urge is going to come to an end. You can sit with it, even if it's uncomfortable, because you know that it is serving what you are working for, serving what you really want. I feel like movement is a powerful teacher because you practice that in the warrior workouts every single time you choose to show up. And it gets your mind stronger and it allows you to practice that. See how that works? It's awesome. So even though the urge might feel so intense and it is real, like you're experiencing it, it doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean that you have to give into it. It doesn't mean that you have to stop. It's based on a false thought from your lower brain. You're not going to collapse. You're not going to, it's not the end of you if you keep going a little bit more. So beginning to recognize this lower brain's talk, energy, how it feels, what it sounds like, and meditating that beforehand. Catching yourself closer and closer, sooner and sooner before you choose to act. That is how you start to beat these urges. I am ending this video here. Tomorrow, we are getting into how to stop emotionally reacting to the emotional urge to overeat. We'll get into that then. Have an amazing day, warrior. If you are interested in checking out the Warrior Evolution 6-month program with me, click the link below and it will take you there. And you can always reach out to me anytime with questions. Have an amazing day and I'll see you tomorrow.